What is going on, everybody? It is Friday, and that of course means that we are going to be taking a look at the top buy and top sell today in the Edgefinder. Hope you guys are having a good day so far. I am hoping that this works this time. I've been dealing with technical difficulties all day trying to record this video. This is my third time trying to record the video, but that's okay. Hopefully it'll work this time. Let's just go ahead and jump right into it. We're here in the market heat map, and the market heat map shows us the biggest movers of the day. We have these blue and red boxes. Blue means buy, red means sell. The darker the blue, the stronger the buy, and the darker the red, the stronger the sell. So we can take a look at our top 6 buys of the day up here in the market heat map, and that is the German 30, UK 100, US oil, gold, USD ZAR, and NZD CHF. Down here we also have our top 6 sells, and that is GBP CAD, GBP AUD, GBP NZD, US 30, SPX 500, and US 10Y. Now I say that these are the biggest movers of the day because the Edgefinder is bringing in all of this data. It's getting updated every 15 to 30 minutes. And like I just said, I've recorded this video 3 times now. And it has changed. It has changed since the first time that I recorded this video. I do not believe that US oil was up here, neither was USD ZAR. And down here, the SPX 500, I don't believe that was down there either. So like I said, this thing is getting updated constantly with new information. I am a testament to that right now. And I say that this is the biggest movers of the day because it is pulling in all of this information, all this data, and it is it is looking at how much it has moved just today alone. So these are our biggest movers for just today alone. Yesterday compared to today, these are the biggest movers. In our content, you may have noticed that we occasionally use our own proprietary software to research the markets. This market scanner is called the A1 Edgefinder, and it is a tool our team has spent a lot of time designing and updating. The scanner imports data on things like retail positions to see what retail traders are buying or selling. It also imports bank and hedge fund positioning so that we can get an inside look at what the big players are up to. Of course, we pay attention to fundamentals, so we program the tool to grab economic data in real time to help keep us up to date. If you'd like a copy of the tool yourself, we're doing a major subscriber discount when you use code A1YT at checkout. In the description below, you'll find a link to get access to the tool. By purchasing our software, you'll be supporting our research videos here, as well as getting access to an amazing tool. Again, use code A1YT down below. Now, back to the video. But if we take a look at the Scorechart Summary, we're going to see all of those same currency pairs, but in a different format. We have all of these metrics right here: COT data, retail sentiment, seasonality, trend reading, GDP growth, inflation, unemployment, and interest rate divergence. All of these are scored, okay, and we have our buys and our sells here, and it's the same list of currencies that we had in the market heat map. The difference between the market heat map and the Scorechart Summary, however, is that the software is taking all of this information that's constantly getting updated, scoring it, and then this is a prediction for how these pairs will continue to trend in one direction or another. So the market heat map shows you the biggest movers from yesterday to today. The Scorechart Summary is showing you what the software predicts will continue moving in a certain direction. So we have our top buy being CAD JPY with a strong buy signal and a score of 6. And down here we have 3 currency pairs tied with a strong sell score of 7, and that is GBP CAD, GBP USD, and Euro USD. So I'm going to go ahead and start with our top buy of the day being CAD JPY. So we're going to click on this, or I could click on this. You see how the mouse is indicating I could click on this to go to the page, but you can also go over here on this left side and scroll through and find it. So this is going to be a minor currency pair because it does not have the US dollar attached to it. US dollar is major currency pairs, minor currency pairs do not have the US dollar. So CAD JPY, scroll down here. Let's see, did I go past it? Oh, I did, I passed it, there we go. CAD JPY. Clicking on that brings us into the CAD JPY page. And here in the CAD JPY page, we can see again that we have a strong buy bias and a score of 6 for that. COT data has a score of 2. We can take a look at those numbers right over here under the sentiment category. We have the Japanese yen and the Canadian dollar listed here, and we see the yen sits at 37.26% long and 62.74% short, while the Canadian dollar has a 63.82% long and a 36.18% short. Retail sentiment score of 1, that number is right next to our COT data. We see 12% long and 88% short. So what this means is institutional traders, because we know COT data is also known as institutional trader data. So the big money players, the institutional traders, are currently long on the Canadian dollar, selling the Japanese yen, while retail traders, day-to-day, just day traders, are short on this pair as a whole. They are selling that. Let's see, seasonality has a score of 1. We can take a look at our seasonality chart right here in the middle. Here are our numbers for September. And what this is historical data showing us the price points for this currency pair as an all-time average, a last 5-year average, and the current year average. So last 5-year average is really interesting, really good to know, because that's what the pair has done most recently. In the last 5 years, we're taking all of the data, all the price points for the currency pair, averaging it, and then getting a number there. All-time average obviously has a lot more data back behind it. That is years and years and years of data averaged together to give you a historical trend line, if you will, for where this price ends up historically. Last 5-year average, little bit more accurate considering it's a little bit more recent. However, as we know, markets are very volatile. They move in lots of crazy ways. It's hard to predict what the markets are going to do, but that's why we gather all this information so that we can make the most accurate predictions possible. So looking at this, September to October, historically speaking, we're seeing a slight upward trend. In the last 5 years, however, October to November, there is a sharp downward trend, but all-time average, we see the currency pair trending upwards throughout the rest of the year. So that's something to keep an eye out for there. We have our trend reading as a score of 2. That just means that this market is trending upwards respectively. And then our last categories here, GDP growth, inflation, unemployment, and interest rates have scores of 1, -1, -1, and 1. And we can find all of that data right here under fundamentals. So the Canadian dollar sits at 0.8% GDP growth, while the yen sits at 0.5%. And Canada has a 7.6% inflation rate, while Japan has a 2.6% inflation rate. Canadian dollar unemployment, 4.9% compared to 2.6% in Japan. And lastly, interest rates, 2.5% for Canada and negative 0.1% or negative 0.10%, however you like to look at that, interest rate in Japan. So we currently have a 2.6% bias towards the Canadian dollar in interest rate divergence. The way that we're getting that number is we're taking the difference between these two. So this is -1 and this is, or negative 0.1, excuse me, and this is 2.5. So the difference between those two is 2.6%. That's why we have a 2.6% bias towards the Canadian dollar. All right, so that is our data for this pair, the the CAD JPY pair. We're going to take a look at the daily chart in just a second, but before we do that, I'm going to talk really quickly about the Scanner Output Summary. Scanner Output Summary is one of our newer features that's super useful. This is a written summary of all of the data that you see here. So if you aren't quite sure what some of this data means, why it gets the score that it does, the Scanner Output Summary puts it into words and explains why we score the things the way we do, and just overall what you're looking at. So if you're the type of person who learns better, you retain the information better when you're reading it in a written format, you know, something like that, Scanner Output Summary is awesome for you, because this is explaining exactly what you see up here, just in words instead of numbers. So daily chart, last thing we're going to look at. Here are the numbers for today, September 2nd. And the daily chart also has this price forecast. So we see a green line, orange line, and red line here. And what this is the software predicting if the market is to trend more heavily in a certain direction. So if the market is to start trending upwards even more, if it begins to trend downwards, or if it stays about the same, we have prediction price forecasts to kind of give an idea of what numbers could look like for this pair. This is not saying that if the market continues to trend upwards even more, that this is exactly what the numbers are going to look like, but this is what we predict the numbers will be around. So we have the green line, orange line, and red line for good, neutral, and bad, and we can take a look at the numbers for September 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, and so on and so forth. There's the 6th, 7th, and 8th. Okay, so that was the CAD JPY pair. So we had 3 pairs tied for our top sell. If we go back into the Scorechart Summary, let's take a look at what those were. We have GBP CAD, GBP USD, and Euro USD. So picking one of these at random, let's see, well, we did just have the Canadian dollar in this pair, so why don't we ignore GBP CAD? It leaves us with GBP USD and Euro USD. I'm just gonna pick Euro USD. So click on that, takes us to the Euro USD page. And here in the Euro USD page, let's go ahead and take a look at all of this data. So like we mentioned already, strong sell bias toward Euro USD with a score of -7. COT data, score of -1. Look over here, we got a 77.63% long towards the US dollar and 22.37% short. And for the euro, we have a 45.26% long and a 54.74% short. Retail sentiment, same thing, score of -1. We have 67% long and 33% short. And now, just as an example, I'm going to go ahead and show you a little bit of the benefits of this scanner output summary right here. So if we read this out, taking a look at Euro USD, we see that retail traders are 67% long and 33% short. We consider this information most useful when a market is at an extreme reading from retail traders. If the retail crowd is 60% or more positioned to one side, we get a +1 or -1. Currently, Euro USD is getting a reading of -1 in this category. Remember, if retail crowd is very long, we will look to short, and vice versa. So basically, because it is over 60% on the long side, we are getting a negative sell rating. If this were flipped and we had over 60% on the short side, we would be getting a +1 rating here. So the scanner output summary, very useful when explaining what all of this data means and why we score it. Seasonality, -1 as well. Here are the numbers for September. And looking from September to October, doesn't seem to have too much change here historically. But again, historically speaking, we are seeing sharp upward trends towards the end of the year. So keep an eye out on this pair reaching higher. Trend reading -2, that means that the market is moving down respectively. And we have our one little blue box here, GDP growth score of +1, and inflation, unemployment, interest rates all have scores of -1. Let's take a look at these numbers here. GDP growth for the euro, 0.6% and 9.1% inflation. The US dollar, -0.6% GDP growth and 8.5% inflation. Unemployment for the euro, 6.6% compared to 3.7% for the dollar. And interest rates for the euro, 0.5% compared to the US 2.5%. So our interest rate divergence is plus 2% bias towards the US dollar, because again, we can see the dollar has a difference of 2. We have 0.5 and 2.5. The difference between those two is 2. Last thing to take a look at, again, daily chart. Here are the numbers for September 2nd. And again, we have our price forecast, our green, orange, and red line. So if this spikes up going into tomorrow, here is what numbers could look like, this green line here. If we stay on a similar trajectory, we're looking at this orange line here, and if things continue to dip down even more, we're looking at this red line here. So here are the numbers moving forward throughout the next couple of days. And again, this is not concrete what these numbers will be. This is a price forecast prediction of what numbers could in fact look like. There we go. So that was a look at our top buy and top sell today here in the Edgefinder. Again, this thing is getting updated very, very frequently, every 15 to 30 minutes or so. I am a living testament to that right now, because again, this has changed from the first time I tried recording this. So that's actually really cool to see. I'm back in the Scorechart Summary because I want you guys to pause the video and take a look at it if you'd like to. If you're making trades today, if you're watching this on the day that it's uploaded, then this information is still pretty accurate and up to date. Like I mentioned, things have changed around, but some things have changed or have stayed the same. So feel free to pause the video and take in all this information if this is something that is useful for you today. But I'm going to go ahead and close out this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed. I hope that you guys have a great rest of your day, and we will see you next time.